You have reached Red Steele's Struggle to Review. I'm your man, Red Steele, and today I'll be reviewing Transformers Headmaster Highbrow. Transformers Retro Series Headmaster Highbrow. But before I get to the actual review, I just want to go over some of the old school details on this packaging. Up front here, it's what we want to show you about the figure and all the accessories inside. On this top flap here, you have the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye logo. Then up here, it says Heroic Autobot. Then on top of the packaging, you have all of Highbrow steps for his transformation. Then in the corner here, it says Headmaster Highbrow. And below that, you have Highbrow's head. Over here in the corner, you have this beautiful illustration of Highbrow in his robot mode. Then down here it says Headmaster Zord. Over here you have Transformers. Then in the corner you have the 8+, which is the age requirement for this figure. And next to that, you have the old school Hasbro emblem. Then on the side of the packaging here, on the very top, you have the Transformers logo again. Below that you have Highbrow in his robot mode, and Highbrow in his helicopter mode, and over here you have Zord. Below that it says Headmaster Highbrow. Then on the other side of the packaging here, you have the exact same thing as you do on the bottom of the packaging. Then on the back of the packaging here, you have this beautiful illustration of all the Series 4 Transformers doing battle. Corner here you have the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye logo. And over here it says, "It is a world of constant change, where things are not what they seem. It is the world of the Transformers, a world of heroic Autobots and evil Decepticons." And over here you have his text spec. Up here it says, "Autobot Highbrow. Function, electronic warfare. Quote, war is a playground of the ignorant." Down here it says, "To him, warfare is barbaric, worthy of only the most primitive. Thinks differences need to be talked about, which he does endlessly." Then over here you have the Transformers Authentic logo, and next to that you have the old school Hasbro logo. Transformers Generations Retro Series Headmaster Highbrow. Highbrow was released June 4th, 2021 with the suggested retail price of $19.87, and he was sold exclusively at Walmart. Highbrow is a Generation 1 inspired figure that converts to his helicopter mode in 12 steps. His accessories include his Headmaster Pilot Zord, 2 blasters, and instructions. Highbrow stands 6 inches tall, and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Now I'm going to go ahead and convert Highbrow all the way from his helicopter mode into his robot mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any of your Transformers, you want to remove all their weapons and accessories. So I'm going to open up the cockpit. I'm going to remove Zord. I'm going to put Zord off to the side. So first up the transformation, you want to take this cockpit, a double jointed hinge right here. You want to flip this cockpit all the way to the back, just like that. So step number 2, you have these 2 arm pieces right there and right there. You have a hinge joint right there and right there. I'm going to untab them and bring it out just like that. I'm going to do that to the other side, bring it out just like that. So step number 3, at the end of the arm right here, you have this fist. And you have a hinge joint at the very end. So all you have to do is flip that out just like that. Do that to the other side, to that fist, and flip it out just like that. Because step number 4, you have this blue piece right here. You want to split that open. You want to bring it out just like that. Do that to the other side, bring it out just like that. So step number 5, you want to complete that motion by bringing that piece down just like this. And just like that. This step number 6, where the thigh meets the hip, there's a swivel joint right there. You want to turn the leg in just like that. Do that to the side, turn it in just like that. This step number 7, at the very bottom of the feet right here, you have this gray piece right there and right there. In the back here, you have a tab right there and right there. You want to push that tab out, flip that heel out just like that. Do that to the side, push that tab in, and flip that heel in just like that. This step number 8, you want to turn Highbrow all the way back around again. You get this bottom piece right here. Get this top piece. You want to go and push this top piece down just like that. Because step number 9, they just want you to simply bring the arms in just like that. And just like that. This step number 10, I want to go ahead and grab Zord. And he's still in the seated position. I'm going to take Zord now. and he's in his full robot mode right now. I'm going to take the legs and flip it all the way up, just like that. Now you have him transformed into his head. Then step number 11, that little piece at the bottom that used to be Zord's head tabs right into the top of Highbrow, just right there. Go ahead and take that and just tab it right into place, just like that. Then step number 12, you want to go and take his blasters now. And at the bottom of each one of these blasters, you have a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists is a 5mm porthole. So we're going to tab that right into place, just like that. Do that to the other side, take that other blaster, and tab it in place just like that. And now you have Highbrow in his full robot mode. Now that I have Highbrow in this helicopter mode and on my display table, so we'll go over some of his play features and accessories. First by talking about his blasters. And he has 2 blasters, and according to the instructions, is the way to arm Highbrow with these blasters while he's in his helicopter mode. You do that because on the bottom here, his handle is actually a 5mm peg. If you flip Highbrow over, he's got 2 5mm portholes right there and right there. In order to arm Highbrow with these blasters, you take that handle right here, plug it right in that porthole. You want to make sure that the barrel's facing forward and this cartridge is facing outward. Go and do that to the other side, take that blaster, just plug it right into the wing just like that. And now you have Highbrow armed in this helicopter mode. And I'm not usually a big fan of arming my Transformers while they're in their vehicle modes, but these blasters do play into part of the transformation, so it's very forgivable, and I do kind of look how he looks with these blasters on his wings. Because the next accessory I'm going to bring out is his Headmaster Pilot Zord. And this all depends on which continuity you want to follow. If you want to follow the international continuity, this is actually Zord, who is a Nublian from the planet Nublios. And what happened was the Transformers brought the war to Nublios, and what happened was they had to team up with the Nublians to kind of endure the environment. And in order to gain Nublians' trust, they gave their heads and their weapons, and they converted them into little co-pilots, little exosuits where they're able to transform either into their heads or their weapons. And they combined with the Transformer, and they're like more of a cooperation or co-pilots of the actual Transformers, which is very strange. But in the Japanese continuity, which I'm more prone to because I was a big fan of that series, there were actually little Transformers that crash landed on the planet Masters. And what they did was in order to adapt to the environment, they also had to invent larger bodies and little vehicles to man the harsh weather conditions of planet Masters. But in order to put Zord or Highbrow into his cockpit, they went to the canopy. You want to flip it forward just like that. You want to take the little pilot, put him in a seated position, just put him right into the cockpit just like that. You close the canopy down, and now you have his little pilot manning the helicopter. Very, very cool. And I don't want to get confused with different continuities, because even with the comic book and the international version of the animated series, some of the origins are a little bit different too. But I do want to follow the Japanese origin with this specific figure, because with the retro series, these were more based on the animated designs from the Headmaster series, because originally when they were released for Titans Returns, and I do own the Titans Return version of Highbrow, I just did not bring it out for this review because I wanted to bring out the Generation 1 figure instead. And it didn't really occur to me when I was digging out my Transformers to bring that version out, because I think there's very little difference between the international version of Highbrow and the Japanese version of Highbrow, because when he was released in Japan in this series, they did base it on that different Headmaster sketch. Because when you look at Chrome Dome and Brainstorm, the anime design for the actual Headmaster was different when it transformed into the head. And with Rebirth, if you watch Rebirth, you'll notice some of the Transformers look very different. Like Cerebos looks different than from Fortress, who's the Japanese version of Fortress Maximus's head, for the little Headmaster configuration. Same for Chrome Dome, his head was much, much different. And when they released him in Japan, and I guess there was Walgreens exclusive that had those molds also, but Walmart actually acquired those molds and brought them out too. So you do get the Japanese version or honestly, the Japanese versions of Headmasters was more toy accurate than what came out for Rebirth. Rebirth, I'm not sure what they did. They kind of went in their own direction, and I'm not sure if it was the animated Acons, I believe, was who animated the Rebirth, but they did not really follow the toy design very accurately, as opposed to Headmasters or the Japanese series did actually stick to the toy designs and the animated models more loyal to what you saw in the toy form. But that's why I'm kind of basing that maybe this is more the Japanese continuity. Very nicely done figure, a lot of great detail. The one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was the helicopter blades were three helicopter blades, or three little blades, so they're like tri-blades on each helicopter, which it's very forgivable. And they actually added a little cannon right here, which is very nicely done. Lots of great mold detail, because this here I believe was originally a sticker detail, so it's very nicely done. The transformation is very simple for something that's so cartoon accurate and just so many points of articulation, but it's 12 steps of transformation, and 2 of the steps are not really steps. It's just the 12th step was when you arm the blasters in his hands, and the 11th step was putting the head on, but pretty much 10 steps of transformation for the actual helicopter. Very, very nicely done, very nicely engineered. But I want to go ahead and bring in my Generation 1 version of Highbrow, do a side-by-side comparison, because it's very, very nice. And I think they did a great job with this version. I mean, if you compare the two side by side, the Generation 1 version is very basic. I mean, the only setback I see is maybe, like I said, the 3 helicopter blades as opposed to the 2 right here. But other than that, it's a very nicely done figure. And as you see that the cannons are already mounted on, so it does play into the transformation. And if I open the canopy, which opens the same way with the canopy flipping forward, you have Zort right here, or Highbrow, depending on what continuity you want to go off of. And it's a little bit bigger. I mean, if I pull out both pilots, this pilot's significantly smaller, but there's a scales difference. There's a big scale difference. The Generation 1 is much larger, but even with the Headmaster pilots, if you compare them, big scaling difference. Now, one thing I like about Generation 1 was you could flip the face piece. You can conceal that it's actually a face that's on his backpack right there. So you go and you just put Highbrow back in there. And I do like the detail in the original Generation 1 Headmaster, because it's, I mean, the scaling difference, you lose a lot of detail. And they didn't give you the option of flipping this little piece up to conceal the face, but it's forgivable because I'm not really going to display my Headmaster Retro Series in their vehicle modes. Because I mean, they're great in both modes, but I'm going to prefer displaying him in his robot mode. But nonetheless, I mean, they put a lot of play features. I mean, they did a great job with Highbrow. I'm going to put him off to the side. I'm going to rotate him out so you guys see what it looks like from all angles. Very nicely done figure. And I know I did this review a little bit later, and I did pick him up a little bit later from Ross's because he was very hard to find at Walmart because of the whole supply chain issue. But very good figure, and if you can get him, go ahead and pick him up. Now that I have Highbrow in this robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories. First, I talk about his blasters. And according to the instructions, there's a couple of ways of arming Highbrow with these blasters while he's in his robot mode. The first way is you take these blasters, you get a couple slots right there, and you got a couple of grooves right there and right there. You combine both blasters into one super blaster, just like that. You can choose either arm him with this handle or that handle. You just put it right into his hand just like that, because his hand is actually a 5mm porthole. And now you have Highbrow armed with this super blaster. But I like to arm him the way he appeared in Generation 1, so I'm going to take this blaster now. I'm going to split it apart. And each one of these handles, like I mentioned earlier on, 5mm peg, each one of his fists, 5mm porthole. Just go and arm him with each one of these blasters in each one of his fists, just like that. And just like that. And now you have Highbrow fully armed in his robot mode. Very, very nicely done. And there's one thing I noted while I just put him on my display. This chest piece right here is actually a step that was not in the instructions. And when I was trying to pry it open to see if he had the little tech spec decoder thing in his chest, I noticed that there's this little hinge right here. So I pushed down on this hinge, thinking that this compartment flips open, and it just comes out just like that. So it kind of plays into part of the chest piece. So it's a nice little detail that was missed out during the instructions or during the transformation segment of this review. But if you want to make him look more cartoon accurate, you can pull this piece out. I'm not sure if that was in the instructions with the original Titans Returns figure. I'd have to pull it out to find out. So I'm going to go and bring out my Generation 1 version of Highbrow and do a side-by-side comparison. And as I noted earlier on, I mentioned that Highbrow, like a lot of the retro series figures that came out for Walmart within the retro boxes, were more based on the Japanese versions that came out for the Titans Return figures. and I forget what they called them in Japan. But they were more cartoon accurate to what you saw in the animated models from the Headmaster series. But this head right here looks nothing like the actual toy or what you saw. I'm not sure if he had the visor in the actual Headmaster cartoon series, but I do believe a lot of those figures were based on the animated models from the anime series. So I'm not sure if this version of Highbrow, the head, is accurate or the same head that they used for the Titans Return version of Highbrow, because I thought both figures were very, very close. There was very little difference, and maybe the color scheme or the paint scheme was more to match what you saw in Headmaster's cartoon series, and it's very accurate to what the toy looks like from the Generation 1. So I'm very lost on whether or not this is any different than Titans Returns or if it's based on the Rebirth series, because I know, like I said earlier on, a lot of the Headmasters from Titans Returns were based on the Rebirth series, or at least the ones that were released by Hasbro. The ones released by Takara were more based on the Headmaster series, so it's a little confusing. Then later on, Walgreens released their versions of the Headmaster, or the Takara versions with the Takara heads, but they still had the same bodies. But the Retro series tried staying more cartoon accurate to the Headmaster's cartoon series, which is very confusing, I know, but very nicely done figure. But I'm going to go ahead and take Highbrow, put him off to the side. I'll go over some of the details here. I mean, this figure's, for only having, like I mentioned earlier on, 12 steps of transformation, and one being the putting the head on, and the other one was arming him with the blasters. But I mean, 10 steps to convert him from a helicopter to this robot body is fantastic. And you could add one more step if you want to pull this chest piece out. But I mean, it's very nicely done. I mean, front to back. I mean, his transformation is very reminiscent of you saw from the Generation 1 toy. I mean, let me go and bring out Generation 1 Highbrow and just turn him around for a quick second. I mean, the only difference is you have to turn his legs sideways when you fold them in. But I mean, the transformations are very similar. And I know you fold the copter blades together. And I know there's like little pins in the back of the blade, but that doesn't mean that the blades move, or if they're meant to move at one point in time. But still a very nicely done figure. Lots of points of articulation, a lot of mold detail. Unfortunately, with the gimmick with original Headmasters, let me go and bring Highbrow back in it one more time. Like I mentioned earlier, there's this compartment right here that you flip open and it kind of gives you a little bit of his tech spec right there. And that's a feature they took out from the Titans Return version of the Headmasters. I wish they kind of would have kept it in there, maybe just molded something that kind of gave nod to that little Easter egg. But nonetheless, it's still a cool feature. I thought Headmasters were a cool concept. Maybe the delivery or the timing was bad when it was originally released, but I feel like this could have been something, because if they would have done little human pilots or something, would have been even better. And there's a little storyline that I came up with, a little fan fiction that I want to come up with that kind of incorporates Headmasters, where it's more appealing to us. But this is a great figure nonetheless. I mean, the transformation, just the look, the feel of it. I mean, it's a great looking figure. I know he's a little bit of an older figure. He's been around. I think he originally released maybe 6-7 years ago. But still, he's aged very well, and he's still a great figure. But if you guys found any of the information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you really enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel. And while you're there, click the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Red Steele's Awesome Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.